Hello, and thank you for joining me for today's webinar on the Deka Virtual Business Challenge. My name is Maureen Ginley. I am the VP of Operations for Knowledge Matters, and currently one of the projects I handle here at Knowledge Matters is overseeing the Deka Virtual Business Challenge, which I enjoy very much. During today's webinar, I like to discuss the following questions and topics. We'll talk about what the Virtual Business Challenge is, how members compete, what their level of participation and experience, what their experience and participation will be like, what it will involve, the educational concepts covered and the application to curriculum, what is the advisor's involvement and what technology is used to participate, and the format of the event. The Deka Virtual Business Challenge, or the VBC as we call it, is an official Deka competitive event where participants use highly visual, web-based simulation applications to manage a business or their own financial wealth. The event is based on the full curriculum classroom versions of the virtual business simulations, and the competition is composed of 7 different tracks. The tracks are VBC Accounting, Personal Finance, Restaurant, Retailing, Sports and Entertainment, Fashion, and the Deka Hotel Challenge. There are 2 internet qualifying rounds for each of these tracks. There are no state or regional events for this competition. The qualifiers from each internet round will move on to compete in a live event at the ICDC. Your students can qualify for nationals without even having to leave your classroom. The Virtual Business Challenge registration begins on October 9th, and it will remain available until the conclusion of the second qualifying round. So if you want to get started right away when the event starts, I recommend registering as soon as registration opens up. That way you'll be ready once the event opens so that your students can start competing right away. However, it doesn't close down at all during the challenge, so you can still register at any point during the first round or the second round of the event. We never shut down registration. So you won't get excluded if you don't register by October 9th. However, I highly recommend getting registered as soon as possible. High school Deka members are eligible to participate within the competition, and registration is free. Members may participate on teams of 1 to 3 team members. Each team member needs to register. Once all team members have registered, participants will be able to drag and drop their names onto teams throughout their individual accounts. The first member to add himself or herself to a team will have the ability to name the team. To register, please have your Deka members visit the link listed on the screen and then click on the Register for Competition button, link that's on that page. Members will be able to register and participate in one, some, or all 7 tracks of the VBC event. So the link is up here on the screen. So if participants could please go to that area on our site, they will see the registration option on that page. It won't be there until October 9th, though, at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. There is a registration help video on the Deka VBC page on our site. So on this exact same page they'd be going to for registration, there will also be a help video, a button to access that video so that you can get assistance if necessary with the registration process. There's also a video on that page for advisors to help you with the approval process. So after students register, teachers or advisors will have to go into an advisor account to register the teams. We do that so that advisors can monitor the team names and who is participating and what teams they're on in case you don't want you want certain groups of students to work together. That gives you the ability to manipulate the teams, change any team names that are inappropriate, and approve everybody who is registered under your chapter. Round 1 begins October 23rd. It will end on November 2nd. Round 2 begins on January 8th, and it will end on January 18th. Let's take a look now at the different VBC tracks your members will be able to participate in. For each of these tracks, students will be utilizing a free limited function competition version of the virtual business simulation that the track correlates to. So, for example, we're looking at VBC fashion right now. This is where students are going to be managing their own fashion design business. They're going to be researching trends, designing clothes, choosing retail locations. They have a mall that they're looking at. They can look at different stores that already exist in the mall, where locations, what vacant store options there are to locate businesses. They price and mark down merchandise. They are able to create window displays, buy materials, promote through social media. Social media is a huge part of this simulation, keeping track of current trends, promoting those trends, pricing their clothing, designing it, selling it, ordering it. All of that is part of running their own fashion design business. So it's a store that they're going to be operating and making these different types of decisions. All these variables they'll be controlling. So this is for the fashion track of the VBC. Their goal is going to be to optimize profitability over one selling season. So each of these tracks will have a certain goal and that the students have to achieve, that they're trying to achieve, and it's going to be a different type of business for each of these tracks that they're going to be managing. So with the exception of virtual business finance, personal finance, it happens to be the next one here. This is the only track where students will not be managing a business, but instead they're going to be managing the financial wealth of their own person, their own simulated character. They're going to go into this simulation where there's an apartment that their character lives in, there's a simulated city that they work in, that they attend classes in, that they need to shop for goods in. So all of that is done within the simulation. They're going to manage bank accounts for their simulated character. They're going to investigate credit options, pay their bills. They have to file taxes, choose different career paths. So there's different career options that they can, determine whether their person's going to go into a technology track or medical degree or restaurant operations. So there's a lot of different pharmaceutical salesperson. They can take different classes if they want to get certain degrees or certifications in order to advance within their careers. And they are going to be looking at purchasing insurance and evaluating education options, determining transportation needs. So all of those decisions and more, the students will be responsible for within this simulation. And their goal is going to be to optimize their net worth over a 2-year simulated period. So they have to choose that career path, try to make as much money as possible within that 2-year simulated period. The next track is VBC Restaurant, and students are managing their own restaurant within this simulation. They're going to make marketing and business, manage marketing and business concepts such as doing market research. They're looking a lot at demographics in this simulation. What demographics are in which parts of the town primarily? Who would they be serving in their restaurant? What types of meal choices does that demographic prefer? What is their price range? What prices are they willing to pay? They get to design the layout of their kitchen and their floor, their dining floor. They want to make sure their workers are as productive and efficient as possible, not running into each other in the kitchen, for example, and placing enough tabletops on their dining room area floor so that if they have a lot of business people, for example, dining in their business, do they have enough tables to accommodate the larger sizes of parties that could come in and dine there? Look at their advertising strategies. Am I advertising to the right demographic for those who will primarily be dining at my restaurant? And am I purchasing the right ingredients for the entrees that I'm offering on my menu? So those are the different types of things variables that they're controlling and what they need to strategize with, in order to meet their goal, which is to optimize profitability for their restaurant over a 1-year simulated period. The next track is VBC Retailing. Within this simulation, students are going to be managing their own retail business. And it could be either a grocery store, an electronics store, or sporting goods store that students are managing in this track. They're going to be looking at marketing concepts like pricing their items that they're selling, purchasing their inventory, promoting it and merchandising it. So those are all the different types of decisions and more. They're looking at security options. Is there shoplifting occurring in the store? There's a lot of reports that they look at in all of these simulation tracks. They look at industry-specific reports. They look at financial reports, at balance sheets and income statements to see, how their decisions are impacting their business. Not only do they see it visually when they're working with the simulations, but they get to look at that financial data and industry report data as well. And their goal here in retailing is to optimize their profitability over a 1-year simulated period. How much money can they make for their store over 1 year? The next track is called VBC Sports. And this simulation allows students to manage their own football franchise, and they have an entertainment aspect to this simulation as well. And that's in the form of booking artists to perform rock concerts at their venue, at their stadium. So they're looking at marketing concepts such as ticket pricing. They have to price their tickets not only for the football games that occur at their stadium, but also for the concerts that they may choose to book to take place there. They also are big into social media in this simulation. They have a Facebook-like interface that they work with where they're promoting the events, typing in details for the events, trying to target demographics with their social media. They have concessions. You see actually a screenshot of our concessions view on this screen right now, where they have to determine how many concession stands they have open, how much staff to have available at that stand, what types of products are they going to offer, and how to price them. They also have parking logistics to worry about, parking on stadium grounds and in satellite lots. How many buses do we have coming to transport the people who park in satellite lots to the stadium? Do our guests arrive on time and get through the gates on time, or will we have to refund money? So those are the different types of situations that they're dealing with in this simulation. They also have player management to look at. They're going to look at the stats of the players and the economics of it as well. How much are we paying our players? Could we lower what we're paying for salaries by finding a player that has just as good of a stat record as the player we currently have signed, but we could pay them less money? So they're making decisions like that within this simulation. And their goal is going to be to optimize profitability over one simulated football season. The next track is VBC Accounting. So this track is different in the formatting a little bit here, because I did talk about earlier that each of these tracks has 2 qualifying rounds, and that they're working through a simulation file within each of those qualifying rounds. VBC Accounting does have 2 rounds as well. However, within those 2 rounds, we have 3 mini challenges within each round. So, within those 3 mini challenges, what students are doing is they are managing a service business. It's a computer repair business, and they have access to documents, source documents like timesheets and invoices and check stubs that they've paid to their vendors and their providers. They also have accounting documents like T accounts, general journal, general ledger, worksheets, financial statements that they have access to. So they are able to access all this information, as well as look at simulated activity and look around in the view of the store that they're working in and managing. And what they're doing is they're going to be analyzing errors. This is a forensic accounting challenge. So they go in and they try to see what accounting errors have been made. And then there's 3 within each of those mini challenges. There's 3 forensic accounting errors. They have to determine which ones have occurred, make those choices, and then submit their work. And basically, we rank them based on their speed of submitting the file, the accuracy of their answer choices, and how many of those rounds did they participate in. That's how we calculate their scores. So this one is a little different from the other 6 tracks. The next track is the Deka Hotel Challenge. This is presented by the J. Willard and Alice S. Marriott Foundation. And in this particular track, they are managing their own full-service hotel. And they manage business and marketing concepts such as revenue management, front desk operations, group sales, and social media. And, they're making staffing schedules, they're booking banquets and large groups, and making those types of decisions. There's a restaurant that is run for the dinner hour in their hotel, so they manage choices that they have to make in running that piece of their business as well. And they get to look at, this is the ground floor that we're looking at our restaurant, our hotel right now, and then there's different levels, so they can go up and look at the room level. They can see guests walking around in the hotel, the housekeepers that they've scheduled working. They have to make sure they're keeping not only their guests happy, but their employees happy and making a profit on top of it. So their goal is to optimize a balanced scorecard score that includes profitability, customer satisfaction, and employee satisfaction. So there is a balanced scorecard score that's available to the students in the simulation, and they have to try to increase that score as much as possible while working through the simulation, and that's how we score them for this particular track. Now, within the different tracks and simulations that the students work through for the VBC, students will be managing certain business, marketing, and or finance concepts having to do with their simulated business or simulated person. So we just discussed a lot of those concepts that they're managing and learning about. And these particular concepts that they're going to be working with, all the variables that they have to look at and make, set prices, set purchasing, set locations, all those types of things. These correlate to the Deka cluster performance indicators within the business management and administration, finance, hospitality, and tourism, and the marketing areas. And the performance indicators that the competition correlates to for a particular qualifying round will be listed on the certificate of participation that all participants will be able to print at the conclusion of a qualifying round. So, for example, the performance indicators listed on the screen right now, these correlate to the concepts participants worked on within the simulation for our VBC retailing track within a different year. So one of the years, the particular simulation file students were working on, it met these specific cluster performance indicators. That's what we were covering within the simulation. So you have that firm correlation to what Deka has for their concepts and different information that they want students to be able to master and learn about, and what's important in the marketing and business world. We are correlating to that within our simulations and with what students are controlling and working with and seeing outcomes and what happens when they make decisions within these particular areas. And there is a strong application using our simulations and participating within this event and how it applies to your curriculum. At the conclusion of each qualifying round for each event, students will be able to print out a certificate of participation as long as the team has completed the competition file at least once. The certificate lists the performance elements the participants have learned about and applied within the competition, as well as many statistics having to do with their participation, which include their highest and lowest scores, the total time spent, their completed attempts, and their rank within your state, your region, and the national ranking. So this type of information allows you to see what educational concepts are being covered while the students are working on the competition and how the concepts correlate to your curriculum, how they can be reinforced through the students' utilization of the program. And it also gives you a way to assess the students' performance and give credit or grades to the students based on their participation. So you don't necessarily have to give grades, but a lot of DECA advisors that we've heard from over the years, they, requested some type of document like this that gives them, concrete information to work with to assess, did the student really put in a good amount of effort working on this, because they have been able to use these simulations in such a way where it becomes a big part of the curriculum tool, curriculum tools that they're using within their course, and correlating it with the topics that they're covering, along with, lecturing and any other type of lesson. They find it beneficial to bring in the simulation part of it, so students have a hands-on, engaging way of, learning about the material that's being covered within the course. And now let's talk about the advisor's level of involvement. There's not a lot that the advisors have to do in order to allow your students to participate. After members register and form their teams, you may have heard me mention earlier, you will need to log into an advisor account to approve the registrations. Advisor accounts, they've already been set up for you by Knowledge Matters. If you don't have access to your account, please contact Knowledge Matters at vbccentral@knowledgematters.com. That's our email address for the VBC event. And you can contact us if you don't have access to an advisor account. The courses for this year's event will not be available through your account until October 9th. We do ask National DECA every year to send out an email to chapter advisors to let you all know how to access your account, where you go, how you get in, and what your login credentials are. So that should be coming shortly through National DECA as well. We send that out probably about a week before the challenge begins. Through your account, once you get logged in, you will see 7 different VBC courses. You need to click on the Manage and Approve Teams link for each VBC course in which your students have registered in order to approve their team registrations. Students won't be able to compete until this step has been completed. So I'll mention again that there is a help video on the DECA VBC page. So on a previous slide, I did list the link that students need to go to register. On that very same page, you'll see a link that you can get access to a video, an advisor video, which helps you learn about the approval process. You do not need to download or install any software for this event. It is 100% web-based. Students will log into their accounts, and they will be able to click on a link to access the competition files. So no downloading, no installation. And it is free, as I mentioned. This limited function competition version of the simulation is provided for free by Knowledge Matters to high school DECA members, so no charge. It's free. Participation, students are able to participate from anywhere they have internet access. The programs are PC, Mac, and tablet compatible. Students may participate from home, from school. You can allocate as much time as you'd like for students to participate within school, or you can make it a completely home-based activity if you don't want to incorporate it into your classroom. So just wherever they have internet access, they will be able to participate. Now the format for the event. As I mentioned before, there are 2 online qualifying rounds for this competition. The top 2 teams from each region, from each round, qualify to compete within the event at ICDC. Now that applies to all 7 tracks. So there will be 112 teams that will qualify for nationals. Only 1 team per chapter, per track, per round may qualify to compete at nationals. Round 1 begins at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, October 23rd, and ends at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, November 2nd. Round 2 begins at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, January 8th, and it ends at 5 p.m. Eastern on Friday, January 18th. Those dates were listed previously on an earlier slide, and they all are also available on our website if you need to keep track of that information. During each qualifying round, participants will be given access to a simulation competition file for each track. The competition files will allow students to manage a certain type of business or their own simulated person, depending on the track, and we reviewed that when we looked at all the tracks that the students would have access to. And they'll be able to access those simulation files for 11 days. They'll be able to run through that same file over and over again, trying to improve the outcome. Their work will be submitted automatically once they reach the end of the file. Participants will be notified once they reach the end of the file, and they are ranked instantly. So they'll know that they finished it because our simulation has a window that pops up and says, congratulations, you finished, your score has been submitted. And then their ranking will appear under the ranking area on our site. So if you go to the Deka area on our site, you'll see each track listed individually, and under each individual listing, there's a rankings link, and you'll be able to see for each round how the students ranked by state, by region, and nationally. Participants won't see their team listed within the rankings until they have completed the competition file at least once. So we do get inquiries each year from teams wondering why they aren't showing up in the rankings, and it's because they haven't completed a file at least once. So they need to do that, make sure they get that message notifying them that they finished, and then they'll see a ranking. They will be able to view it on the Deka page on our website, as I mentioned, the ranking. The competition file for each round won't be available until the start date of the round, and participants will no longer have access to that simulation file once the round is over. So we stop accepting scores after that 11-day period. Once the end of the round hits, then they won't be able to access the file any longer for that round. Deka members participating within the event will control starting and stopping the simulation competition file, as well as the speed at which the file runs. Therefore, it can take anywhere from 40 minutes to a period of days for a participant to complete the competition file. Participants may save their work and continue on at a later time if they don't finish. If students participate on teams of more than one team member, only one team member may log in to access the file at one time. This allows Deka members to work on their communication and teamwork skills and make decisions together. Within the simulation files that participants work on during each competition round, teams will have access to almost the full simulation capabilities. This means they will have control over all the business and marketing concepts involved in managing their business simultaneously. For example, we looked at all those different tracks that they're participating in. So if we look at the VBC retailing track, and we're giving them full capability of that business, they'll be able to set their prices, merchandise goods, purchase inventory, set staffing schedules, promote their business, and so on. They can do all of that at the same time. Or in another example, if you look at VBC Sports, they'll set ticket prices, manage parking logistics, set staffing levels, determine concession needs, book concert events, and more. And they'll do all that simultaneously. So some advantages of giving participants this level of control over their business or simulated person are the fact that it tests more Deka performance indicators at once. So by giving them control over managing their whole business, we're giving them the ability to focus on more Deka performance indicators at one time. We make the competition, it will make the competition more challenging when you have to monitor more variables at once. And it's better prep for the International Career Development Conference, because when they get to nationals, when they have live sessions, competition sessions, if they qualify to compete there, they're going to have full control over managing that business. So this is great practice for nationals. It's not only, a competition period, but it's also good practice for them. So the shorter online qualifying rounds that we introduced last year, in combination with access to the full simulation capabilities, will enable teams to focus on key business decisions that impact their virtual business, profit and success. And this is just a picture here. I always like, during my web sessions, I like to just share a picture of the students competing at ICDC. You can get an idea of the setup. They have the advisors, their fellow students, a lot of people in the VBC area on the exhibit floor at Nationals watching. It's all very intense, a lot of energy. And, since the introduction of this competition 17 years ago, we've had thousands of Deka members participate in the VBC. And all the members collectively, they've spent millions of minutes truly and diligently working on the simulations. I never ceases to amaze me to see the display of the remarkable skills that they display. We're lucky to have really such a talented and hardworking group of participants in the VBC each year, and such a wonderful group of advisors that we've gotten to know and work with through the years who, although your level of getting students up and running is minimal, we still see advisors give great support to these students and really enable them by giving them the time and support, that they look for when working through these simulations. So, it's really inspiring to witness the dedication and the eagerness we see from participants and advisors as we begin each new school year and everybody gets ready for the VBC to start again. And we really hope to see your chapter participate this year. And also, we post some hints on our Facebook pages each year for the competition, and you can also follow us on Twitter, follow the event on Twitter and Facebook. So those are our two links to those pages for Knowledge Matters. And if you have any questions, please do contact Knowledge Matters, and the VBC email address that I shared earlier, vbccentral@knowledgematters.com. Excuse me. Please feel free to share inquiries and if you need any guidance on anything. We're always happy to help you, and we really look forward to your participation. Thank you so much for joining me today for this web session on the Virtual Business Challenge. Have a great experience, and good luck to everybody if you're able to participate this year. Thank you.